Venezuela, 2018. A woman pushes a shopping cart full of cash down the street. Not groceries, cash. Stacks of Bolivar notes piled so high they spill over the sides. She's going to buy one loaf of bread. By the time she reaches the bakery, the price has doubled. That's hyperinflation. When your money becomes worthless faster than you can spend it. When a month's salary buys a single egg. When the government prints so much currency that people use it as wallpaper because it's cheaper than actual wallpaper. Venezuela wasn't the first. In Zimbabwe, 2008, the government printed a $100 trillion bill. 100 trillion. It couldn't buy a bus ticket. Weimar, Germany, 1923. Workers were paid twice a day because by evening their morning wages were worthless. People carried money in wheelbarrows to buy bread. Hungary, 1946. Prices doubled every 15 hours. Every 15 hours. You finish breakfast, and by lunch, everything costs twice as much. 56 times in recorded history, governments have created paper money and watched it collapse into hyperinflation. 56 times. Every single one started the same way. A brilliant innovation. A crisis that demanded solutions. A government that said, we can control this. And then, catastrophe. But here's what nobody talks about. The first time this happened, it wasn't Venezuela, or Zimbabwe, or Weimar Germany. It was China. 1,000 years ago, the Song Dynasty didn't just invent paper money. They invented the disaster that comes with it. They created the world's first economic miracle with printed currency. And then they created the world's first hyperinflation. The pattern was set in 1024. Every civilization since has repeated it. Same invention, same temptation, same collapse. So here's the question that haunts modern economics. Why does every government make the same mistake? Why, after 56 examples of catastrophic failure, do we keep printing money during crises? And the biggest question of all. In 2020 and 2021, the world printed more money than the previous decade combined. The Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, the Bank of Japan, all of them. Trillions upon trillions of new currency flooding the economy. Is this time different? Or are we just the 57th civilization that thinks we're smarter than everyone who came before? The Song Dynasty thought they were different too. They had the best economists of their era, the most advanced civilization on Earth, a thriving economy that made Europe look like a backwater. They were certain they could control it. Let me show you what happened when they tried. 1024. Sichuan Province, China. The Song Dynasty is at its peak. Cities are booming. Trade is exploding. Merchants are getting rich. But they have a problem. Money is too heavy. Literally. The currency is made of iron coins, not copper. Iron. Because China doesn't have enough copper, and Sichuan uses iron instead. An iron coin weighs about 10 times more than a copper coin, and it's worth 10 times less. To buy a horse, you need thousands of iron coins. That's hundreds of pounds of metal. Merchants traveling from city to city need carts just to carry their money. A single large transaction requires a team of workers just to move the currency. It's insane. So the merchants get creative. They start leaving their iron coins with trusted shops. The shop gives them a paper receipt. The receipt says this person deposited 1,000 coins. When they reach the next city, they show the receipt to a partner shop. That shop gives them 1,000 coins. The paper represents the metal. The paper is the promise. This is the jiaozi, the world's first paper money. At first, it's private. 16 wealthy merchant houses in Chengdu band together. They create a joint guarantee system. If one shop can't honor a receipt, the others cover it. Trust is everything. The receipts are sophisticated. Multiple colors of ink, hidden markings, stamps and seals, handwritten serial numbers. They're harder to forge than coins. And they work. Brilliantly. Trade explodes. Merchants can move massive amounts of value with a piece of paper. No more carts full of iron. No more hiring guards to protect metal shipments. Just paper. Light. Portable. Revolutionary. The economy goes into overdrive. For the first time in human history, money moves at the speed of paper. But then, inevitably, some merchants get greedy. They issue more receipts than they have coins in reserve. They gamble with the deposits. They make bad investments. And when people come to redeem their paper for metal, the coins aren't there. Panic. Bank runs. Merchants fleeing the city. The system nearly collapses. So in 1023, the government steps in. Emperor Renzong sees the potential. Paper money is too useful to abandon, but it's too dangerous to leave in private hands. The government nationalizes the system. In 1024, they established the Jiaozi office, the world's first central bank. Government-issued paper money backed by official reserves. They set clear rules. Each note has a fixed denomination. 1 guan, 5 guan, 10 guan. A guan equals 1,000 copper coins in value. The government maintains a reserve of 360,000 guan in iron coins. That's 360 million coins. Real metal backing the paper. Notes are issued in series. Each series circulates for 3 years. Then you must exchange old notes for new ones. This prevents worn-out, damaged currency from circulating. The government charges a small fee for the exchange. 30 wen per guan, about 3%. That's how they fund the system. The official jiaozi are even more sophisticated than the private ones. Multiple colors. Official government seals stamped in red. Warnings printed on the notes. Counterfeiters will be beheaded. And for the first time in history, a government is creating money with paper and ink instead of digging metal from the ground. It's a miracle. The Song economy booms like never before. The government can pay soldiers on distant frontiers with light paper instead of shipping tons of coins. They can fund massive public works projects. They can stimulate trade in remote provinces. The jiaozi becomes more popular than actual coins. In some regions, paper is preferred over metal. It's cleaner, easier to count, easier to transport. The world has never seen anything like it. Europe won't have paper money for another 700 years. When Marco Polo visits China in the 1200s, he's astonished. He writes about how the Great Khan creates money from the bark of mulberry trees, how people accept it as readily as gold, how the state can produce unlimited wealth with paper and ink. It seems like magic. But here's the thing about magic tricks. They only work if you don't look behind the curtain. And behind the curtain of paper money is a simple truth. It's a promise. A piece of paper that says, the government guarantees this is worth 1,000 coins. As long as people believe that promise, the system works. The moment they stop believing, the whole thing collapses. The Song Dynasty is about to learn that lesson the hard way, because they're facing a crisis. And when governments face crises, they always reach for the same solution. Print more money. The Yurshan Jin dynasty is attacking from the north. War is expensive. Soldiers need to be paid. Weapons need to be bought. Fortifications need to be built. The government needs money. Lots of it. Fast. They have 2 options. Raise taxes, which makes the people angry and could cause rebellion. Or print more jiaozi. Guess which one they choose? At first, it's subtle. They increase the money supply a little. Issue a few extra notes beyond the reserve ratio. Nobody really notices. Prices tick up slightly, but the economy is still strong. Then, the war intensifies. More printing. The government issues 600 million emin in jiaozi to pay for military expenses in Shanxi province. This time, there's no metal reserve backing it at all. 0. 600 million in paper, backed by nothing but a government promise. And that's when the pattern begins. The pattern that will repeat itself 56 times across human history. The government prints money because it's easier than raising taxes. More money floods the economy without more goods to buy. Prices start to rise. People notice their paper is buying less. They demand more paper for the same goods. So the government prints more to keep up, which makes prices rise faster, which makes people demand even more. It's a spiral, and once it starts, it's almost impossible to stop. By 1192, the exchange rate is fixed at 770 wen per guan. But that's just the official rate. On the street, nobody accepts that. They want more paper. Much more. By 1204, the government has issued an additional 5.3 million MN in banknotes. The reserve of metal coins hasn't increased. The ratio of paper to metal is now catastrophically out of balance. And this is where we hit the number that changes everything. A jiaozi note with a face value of 1,000 coins. In 1100, it could be exchanged for 1,000 actual coins. By 1204, merchants will only give you 400 coins for it, then 300, then 200. By 1206, 1,000 coins worth of paper buys you 100 coins of metal. 90% of the value gone. And it keeps falling. Local governments in Sichuan are so desperate, they start selling off tax exemption certificates. They sell gold and silver from reserves. They even sell official government positions. Anything to get real value for the worthless paper. The emperor tries to fix it. In 1105, he replaces the jiaozi with a new currency called the qian yin. New name, same paper, same problem. It doesn't work. The qian yin collapses even faster than the jiaozi. By 1256, they try again with the huizi. Same result. Inflation doesn't care what you call the paper. The Song Dynasty has created the world's first fiat currency and the world's first hyperinflation. The economy crumbles, trade slows, people hoard real goods. Rice, salt, silk, anything with actual value. The paper becomes a joke. Then the Mongols invade. The Song Dynasty, weakened by economic collapse, can barely resist. By 1279, it's over. Kublai Khan conquers the Song. The dynasty falls. The dynasty, the first empire to invent paper money, is also the first empire destroyed by its own invention. But the Mongols don't learn from the Song's mistake. They think they can do it better. Kublai Khan looks at the ruins of the Song economy and sees an opportunity. Paper money is brilliant. The Song just did it wrong. The Mongols will do it right. 1260. The Yuan dynasty issues the Chao. This time, it's not backed by metal coins at all. It's pure fiat currency. The value comes entirely from government decree. You must accept it. By law. Kublai Khan bans all gold and silver transactions. If you're caught using metal coins, severe punishment. Everyone must use paper. Only paper. The Khan has absolute control of the money supply. For a while, it works. The Yuan dynasty spans the largest empire in history. Trade flows across Asia, Europe, the Middle East. The Silk Road is booming. And it's all powered by paper money. Marco Polo writes home to Venice describing the system. Europeans are stunned. The Khan can create money from nothing. He just stamps paper and declares it valuable. And people accept it. To Europeans using heavy gold and silver coins, this seems like sorcery. But then, the same pattern emerges. War with Japan. Failed invasions of Southeast Asia. Mongol civil wars. All of it costs money. So the Yuan government prints. And prints. And prints. By 1350, they've issued the Zhejiang Jiaochao. The amount in circulation is staggering. No metal reserves. No restraint. Just paper backed by a government decree. Prices start rising. 5.2% per year on average. That doesn't sound like much by modern standards. But remember, this is an era where prices were stable for centuries. People's grandparents paid the same price for rice that their grandchildren paid. Now, prices are doubling every 14 years. For a medieval economy, this is catastrophic. People lose faith. They refuse to accept paper at face value. They demand more and more notes for basic goods. Black markets emerge using silver and copper coins. The government tries to crack down. Severe penalties for refusing paper money. But you can't force people to believe in value that doesn't exist. By 1368, the Yuan dynasty collapses. Rebellion, economic chaos, and the loss of the mandate of heaven. The paper money dies with them. The Ming dynasty takes over. And you'd think they learned the lesson, right? Wrong. Emperor Hongwu establishes the Great Ming Treasure Note in 1375. He's more careful than the Mongols. He tries to restore copper coins as the primary currency. But there aren't enough coins, so he issues paper to fill the gap. Same promise. Government-backed value. Accept it or face punishment. And almost immediately, the same pattern begins. Within 2 decades, the Ming paper money is worth less than 1/4 of its nominal value. By the early 1400s, it's completely worthless. Nobody will accept it. The government tries forcing people. Doesn't work. The Ming abandons paper money entirely. For the next 400 years, China uses silver and copper. Real metal. Real value. The experiment with paper is over. 3 dynasties tried it. 3 dynasties destroyed their economies with it. 3 dynasties learned the same lesson. You cannot print prosperity. Paper money only works when people believe the promise. And governments always break the promise when they face a crisis. Now let's fast forward. Europe finally catches up in the 1700s. The Bank of England issues the first permanent banknotes in 1694. It works for a while. Then, the same pattern. France tries paper money during the Revolution. The assignat, backed by confiscated church lands. Hyperinflation within a few years. The assignat becomes worthless. The Weimar Republic, 1923. Germany loses World War I. Massive reparations demanded by the Treaty of Versailles. The government prints money to pay debts and striking workers. By November 1923, inflation is 29,500%. A loaf of bread costs billions of marks. People burn money in stoves because it's cheaper than buying firewood. The mark collapses. Hungary, 1946. Post-World War II. The economy is destroyed. 40% of infrastructure is rubble. The Soviet Union demands reparations. Hungary prints money. The hyperinflation becomes the worst in recorded history. Prices double every 15 hours. By July 1946, it takes 41.9 quadrillion pengo to equal 1 pre-war pengo. Quadrillion. The pengo is replaced by the forint. 1 forint equals 400 octillion pengo. Octillion. That's a 4 with 29 zeros after it. The pattern continues. Zimbabwe, 2007 to 2009. Robert Mugabe's government seizes white-owned farms. Agricultural production collapses. The government prints money to buy food from abroad. Inflation hits 79.6 billion% per month. Per month. By November 2008, prices are doubling every 24 hours. A loaf of bread costs 35 million Zimbabwean dollars in the morning. 70 million by evening. The Zimbabwean dollar is abandoned. Replaced by the US dollar. Venezuela, 2013 to 2020. Oil prices collapse. Government revenue craters. Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro print money to fund social programs. By 2018, inflation exceeds 1 million%. Workers are paid in stacks of worthless bolivars. People weigh money instead of counting it. A kilogram of bolivars might buy a loaf of bread. Might not. Depends on the hour. The bolivar dies. 56 times. 56 governments. 56 hyperinflations. Every single one caused by the same thing. A government with a printing press and a crisis that demands money. Not most of them. All of them. 100%. The Song Dynasty was number 1. Venezuela was number 56. The technology changed, the language changed, the century changed, but the pattern never changed. Invent paper money. Face a crisis. Print to solve it. Print more when that doesn't work. Keep printing until people stop believing. Watch the currency collapse. Watch the economy collapse with it. Every government thinks they're different. The Song had the best economists in the world. They were certain they could manage the money supply. They failed. The Mongols thought absolute control would prevent abuse. They failed. Weimar Germany had modern economic theory. They failed. Modern Venezuela had computers and data. They failed. The tools get better. The outcome stays the same. Why? Because the fundamental problem isn't technical. It's human. When a government faces a crisis, raising taxes is politically dangerous. Cutting spending is politically dangerous. Borrowing might not be possible if lenders don't trust you. But printing money? Printing money is easy. Printing money makes the problem go away, temporarily. And when you're a politician facing re-election, or an emperor facing rebellion, temporarily is all that matters. So you print, and you tell yourself this time is different. We're smarter. We have better economists, better technology, better safeguards. We can control it. And then the same pattern unfolds. First, a little inflation. No big deal. Then a little more. People start noticing. Prices are rising faster than wages. So you print more money to boost wages, which makes prices rise faster. So you print more, faster and faster, until one day you wake up and bread costs $1 billion, and by evening it costs $2 billion. And your currency is dead. The cycle has repeated 56 times. And here's what should terrify anyone paying attention. We're watching it happen again. Right now. 2020. The COVID pandemic hits. Economies shut down. Governments panic. The Federal Reserve prints $5 trillion in 2 years. The European Central Bank follows. The Bank of Japan. The Bank of England. All of them printing money at speeds that would make Kublai Khan blush. The money supply explodes. In the United States, M2 money supply increases by 40% in 2 years. 40%. In 2 years. Trillions of new dollars flooding the economy. And just like every time before, the people in charge say, this time is different. We're not the Song Dynasty. We're not Weimar Germany. We have modern economic theory. We have independent central banks. We have inflation targeting. We understand velocity of money and output gaps. We can control this. Maybe they're right. Maybe this time really is different. After all, the inflation of 2021 and 2022 came down. Central banks raised interest rates. The economy didn't collapse into hyperinflation. Maybe we finally learned the lesson. Or maybe we just haven't reached the crisis yet. The Song Dynasty had 150 years of prosperity, with paper money before the collapse. The temptation is always the same. Print money to solve a crisis. And crises keep coming. The next recession, the next pandemic, the next war. When that happens, what will governments do? 56 civilizations gave us the answer. They print. Because printing is easier than hard choices. Because printing solves today's problem and pushes the consequences to tomorrow. Because politicians think in election cycles, not centuries. The Song Dynasty invented paper money in 1024. It was a brilliant innovation. It supercharged their economy. It made trade faster, easier, more efficient. But the same invention that created prosperity also created the temptation to abuse it. And when crisis came, they printed their way into collapse. 55 civilizations watched the Song Dynasty's example and thought, we can do it better. 55 civilizations repeated the same mistake. Now it's our turn. We have printed more money in the last 5 years than most of human history combined. We're told we have safeguards. We're told we learned the lessons. We're told this time is different. The Song Dynasty thought they were different too. They had the most advanced economy on Earth. The best minds working on the problem. Sophisticated systems and regulations. They still failed. So here's the question we all need to ask. Is this time actually different? Or are we just the 57th civilization that thinks we're smarter than everyone who came before? In 10 years, we'll know the answer. History suggests what that answer will be. 56 times, the pattern held. 56 times, paper money led to temptation. 56 times, temptation led to printing. 56 times, printing led to collapse. Maybe we break the pattern. Maybe modern economics really has solved the ancient problem. Maybe the 57th time is the charm. But if 1,000 years of history has taught us anything, it's this. When you give a government a printing press and a crisis, they will print. And when they print, the currency dies. The Song Dynasty gave the world an incredible gift. Paper money transformed human civilization. But they also gave us a warning that 55 civilizations ignored. The question is, will we?